The energy.
Can we all just admit that I was right about Mac Jones from the start? He's good. He's not great. And they have made him worse by what they have done to him this year.
The passion.
This UVM team is the most athletic team I can remember in the 8 years I've been covering them. They're that fast. They're that quick. They're that bouncy.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
Craig Breslow might be great, but he's got to start spending money. I think he's going to, but he better start soon.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday, our final Patriots Monday of the season here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Short show today. We're up till 6:30. College football national championship game is coming up at that time. Pregame show for Michigan and Washington. I grew up in Seattle. Go Dogs, no doubt. Tired of Jim Harbaugh. Love Michael Penix. Want the Huskies to win this game. Now, I was ready to go to bat here with the station management. If Bill Belichick got fired today or traded today, I was ready to say we're cutting the pregame show short and I'm taking it up until 7 o'clock. As it stands, there is not going to be a Bill Belichick resolution today. So I've decided to put the swords away and we'll get off the air at 6:30. But if something had happened to Coach Bill, I would have fought and we would have been on until 7. I am here. Danny is here. You can get in on the text line, 802-585-3026. We'll get to Belichick. We'll get to the Pats here in a second. Let me tell you quickly, Danny, I was out of town this week, and I was in Albany with my parents at my parents' house. And as a result, I'm never far away from the Catamounts no matter where I am. No matter where I am, I'm never far away from the Catamounts. So I go back to the capital region, right? Avoid the snowstorm happening at the station and up in Essex and all that. And I go to my parents' house. So they got snow too, 5 inches or so, not that bad. But on Saturday afternoon, I went to the UVM women's hockey game at RPI. So I never get a chance to go generally to games at the Gut, just because of when we're on the air. And then the weekend, we got a lot of stuff going on I got to watch for the show too. So I got a chance Saturday afternoon to go back, visit my parents, but I went to the UVM women's hockey game. They took it on the chin, losing 5-1 against the Engineers, but it was still cool to see Coach Plumer. I talked with him. I met the assistant coach, Victoria Blake, who actually went to Oswego at, a little bit younger than me, a little bit more recently than me, but got a chance to meet her, talked with Coach Plumer after the game for a while. Fun to see the game, good environment, cool. Did you know that the Houston Fieldhouse in Troy, where RPI plays, and the Gut are the only two hockey arenas in the country that go by the name Fieldhouses, and they both play at them. So I had a chance to go see the UVM women there. As I'm watching the UVM women in person, I had the UVM men's hoop game on my computer right in front of me because I was actually sitting. I wasn't in the crowd. I was actually in the press box here playing Big Shot for the day. So a lot of fun to be at my parents'
How'd you pull that off?
I called them and said, "Hey, RPI, I'm coming to town. Do you have a?"
I'm Brady Farkas.
Now I said, I work at WDEV Radio in Vermont. Can I get a credential? And they said yes. And they put me up right next to the press box. I wasn't in the press box. I was adjacent to the press box. But they gave me my very own table with my very own Ethernet cord with my very own power supply. So I had my laptop set up, watched the UVM men's basketball game while I was watching the UVM hockey team in person. Again, it was a lot of fun. And I don't get out to a lot of hockey games. I go to more basketball games a year than I do hockey, both men and women. So it was a lot of fun to be out there. And again, less snow in the Albany neck of the woods versus what was up here near the station. So it was fun all around, and got a chance to see Coach Plumer and got to see the Catamounts wear the green jerseys, which I love. I like them better than the white. So since they were on the road, I got to see that. So you can get in 802-585-3026. Here's where we're at. Oh, by the way, Danny, let's go. Hit the button. Let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete, and upstate New York's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They are online at sticksandstuff.com. They're also over in Rouse's Point as well over in New York. There is not going to be a resolution on Bill Belichick today, by all reports. Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston, who is as plugged in as anybody on the Patriots beat, said, do not expect a Bill Belichick resolution today. Belichick met with the media 7:30 this morning. I presume He also met with Robert Kraft today, and maybe that's going to be a days-long meeting, but I believe that process likely started today, and there is not going to be a Bill Belichick resolution. So let me state again, for the record, 5:35 p.m., Monday, January 8th, I would cut the cord. I would move on from Bill Belichick as head coach, as GM, as someone part of the organization. That is just me. I do not know what the Patriots will do. That is what I would do. Easier said than done. Easier said by me rather than someone like Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft who have a real history and a real affinity for and a real appreciation of Bill Belichick. So, yes, it's easy for me to say I would cut the cord. I would move on from Bill Belichick. Here are the options. There are 4 options as I see it here for the Patriots moving forward. And the Pats, who finished 4-13 with a terrible loss or a terrible game yesterday against the Jets, which we will find a way to talk about a little bit here in a couple of minutes. But here's your 4 options. 1, Bill Belichick can come back next year in the exact same structure, right? He's the GM. He's the player personnel guy. He's got all the power. He can come back under that circumstance. 2, he can come back next year while relinquishing some control, right? We've talked about could Bill be the head coach but not the GM. That is an avenue. The third option is Bill Belichick gets traded, something we've talked a lot about, something I've advocated for over the last couple of months. And the fourth option is Bill Belichick gets outright fired, right? Those are the 4 options as I see them. I would cut the cord. I would take number 3, trade him, or number 4, fire him. But those are the 4 options on the table. Bill Belichick spoke to the media today. As I said, 7:30 this morning. He said a few things today that were very, very interesting, Danny, including this one. Play me Bill Belichick number 4.
I'm in a contract, do what I always do, which is, every day I come in, work as hard as I can to help the team in whatever way I can. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. And, today was kind of the wrap-up day for us with the players. Have a meeting with them and then go from there. So as far as any, decisions or direction or anything like that for next year is, way too early for that. End of the year process is, I don't think will be fundamentally any different from the standpoint of how it's done.
Danny, play me the first 3 seconds of that clip one more time.
I'm in a contract, do what I always do, which is
I am under contract, right? That is very, very interesting. We've never known any details of Bill Belichick's contract. We've never known how long he's under contract for. We've never known when he signed an extension. We've never known how much money he was making. Bill Belichick tells us today he is under contract. That comment right there leads me to believe 2 things. 1, he's not retiring. I didn't even list retirement as an option. He's not retiring. He tells you, I am under contract. He believes this is my job until they kick me out of the building and until they deactivate my key card, right? Until bill@patriots.com no longer works as an email address, he sees this as his job. So 1, he's definitely not retiring. He definitely wants to coach. The other thing is when he tells us he's under contract, that leads me to believe he's not going to get traded. Well, I believe that is the cleanest path out of this for everybody. I think Bill Belichick just made it clear he's not going to allow himself to be traded. He reminds the world, and he sends the message to the Kraft family, I am under contract, you owe me money, and I need to play ball with anything else that's going to happen here. If you want to get rid of me, you're going to have to fire me, and you're going to have to pay me, because if I'm going to get traded, I need to play ball, and I take this all to mean that Bill Belichick's not going to play ball, right? I said back in October that trading Bill Belichick was the cleanest way of handling things. It was the cleanest exit for the Patriots. It was the cleanest exit for him, and I truly and fundamentally believe that. But when Bill Belichick tells you, I am under contract, and he's reminding everybody of that for the first time in ever, he's telling you he's not going to allow that to happen, right? And that is his right. He has a contract. He has a right to play hardball if he wants to. I was trying to make it easy. If Bill wants to make it difficult, he has every right under his contract to make it difficult. He does not have to agree to a trade. He does not have to want to see a new team give up an asset for him to his old team. He doesn't have to do any of that. When he reminds you that he's under contract, he's telling you it's that way is not going to work. So I'm going to stay here until you kick me out. And if you want to get rid of me, you're going to have to kick me out. That is number one, right? I don't think Bill Belichick wants to be traded. I don't think he's going to allow himself to get traded. You're going to keep me here in some capacity, or you're going to fire me. The other thing that was interesting that Bill Belichick had to say today is he was asked about the idea of staying but taking less responsibility. Bill, would you be here and just be the coach and not be the GM or the player personnel guy, Danny?
Yeah, I'm for whatever, collectively we decide as an organization is the best thing to help our football team. I have multiple roles in that, and I rely on a lot of people to help me in those responsibilities. If somebody's got to have the final say, I have it. I rely on a lot of other people to help, and whatever that process is, I'm only part of it.
So Bill Belichick basically says, right? He says, yes, I'm involved in a lot of this. I rely on a lot of other people. Someone's got to have the final say. He says, I am for whatever helps our football team. So for the people who say, could Bill be the head coach without being the GM? He just told you, yes, I am open to it. And I will put egg on my face. I am surprised that he would say that. I thought there was no way that Bill Belichick would ever agree in Foxborough to take less power, right? I thought he'd be okay going somewhere else and having less power. But here, where he's done it, where he's done successful, where he's been successful, where he's won at the highest level, and he's done it consistently, I never thought he would be willing to take a decrease in responsibility here. I am surprised that he would say that. That said, I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work, and I wouldn't do it. The Patriots just might offer him that opportunity, and I'm telling you, if they do, I don't think it's a good idea. Now, for a while, you can go pull back up a podcast from October, from November. Somewhere you heard me say over the last 3 months that if Bill Belichick wanted to coach the team and not be the GM, I would be okay with that. I was in that camp for a while. I am not in that camp anymore. I do not believe this would be a good idea. I do not believe this would work. I believe that if Bill Belichick stays here with a lesser role, that he would come out resentful and that the situation would deteriorate. Okay? Think about any relationship you have in your life where the power dynamic switches. Generally, the person who is being stripped of their power does not end up happy. Okay? It does not end up well for that person. When you are so used to something running one way and then it flips on its head and it no longer runs that way, I don't see Bill Belichick being happy with that situation eventually. I'm going to give you an example, and this has never happened to me, but you probably have watched a television show like this, or maybe you know a person who's gone through this in real life. This has never been me. I'm going based on television experience. I was watching a show the other day where a man had cheated on a woman, right? Man had cheated on a woman. And the man felt badly about it. And the man really wanted to stay in the relationship. And the woman wasn't sure. But eventually she went to the man and said, look, I will stay with you, but here are the conditions. And she laid out a bunch of conditions and like restrictive conditions. So you could understand why she said that, because she had been cheated on. Like, you're not going out with the guys on Friday night. You're staying with me. I'm going to tag the location on your phone so I know where you are at all times. And the man agreed to it because the man was so desperate to stay in the relationship that he was like, look, I will do anything. I will do absolutely anything you want. She said, fine. And she let him stay in the relationship. But then over time, as the show went on, the man realized how restrictive this was. The man said, I got to check in with her all the time. She wants to know always where I am. She always doubts me. She never trusts me. And by the end of the episode, the two were so unhappy that the relationship ended anyways. Now, it didn't end because of the initial issue. It ended because of all of this other stuff that they couldn't make work. That, to me, feels like what would happen here with the Patriots. Again, it's an imperfect comparison. But look, in one hand, Bill Belichick, like the man in that show, let his partner down, right? He let the Patriots down this year. He let Robert Kraft down this year. Robert Kraft is ready to move on. He's so angry. He's so upset. He's so hurt. He's ready to move on. Bill Belichick apparently now is saying, as I played you in that cut, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. So now Robert Kraft can go to Bill Belichick and say, fine, but we're going to do this the way I want now. You're not going to be the GM. I'm going to hire the GM. You're going to have less say in the draft. We're going to bring in more analytics people, and we're going to build a modern football operation, and you're going to stay over there in your lane, and you're going to do what I say. Now, on day one, Bill Belichick says, sure, because he wants the job, and he's scared to start over, and he's nervous about starting over, and he's really loved the relationship. But over time, you know as well as I do that the same thing that happened to the guy in that show would happen to Bill Belichick, would it not? The draft's going to come around, and Bill Belichick's going to be in those meetings, and everybody's going to be telling them that they love that guy, and Bill's going to be like, no, I want that guy. And they're going to say, oh, well, this is what you agreed to. And the draft is going to happen, and Bill's going to want to trade back, and they're going to say, no, this is what we want. This is what you agreed to. Or they're going to say, Bill's going to say, I want to take this guy, and they're going to say, we want to trade back. We want to get more value. We want more picks. This is what you agreed to. And eventually Bill becomes resentful, right? Or they go and say, hey, we're going to sign a wide receiver to a 5-year, $110 million contract. And Bill says, whoa. Hey, we don't, wide receivers grow on trees, baby. We don't need that. And they're going to say, we have final say. This is what you agreed to. And so by the end of this all, Bill Belichick is a watered down version of himself, and he's resentful at the power structure that he agreed to. That I think that is exactly what would happen here. Now, I can't predict the future, but I've seen enough television shows and movies with situations just like that I can think of the fact that when somebody in a relationship, any relationship, loses the power, it doesn't end up well for that person. That person will never end up as happy as they used to. The couple in that television show didn't end up happy, and Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft wouldn't end up happy. Danny, that's either the best analogy I've ever made, or you're shaking your head at me on the other side of the glass. What do you think about what I just said?
Can it be both?
It's both? You didn't like that? You're lucky.
I like the analogy, and then you kind of lost me at the end. I don't know. I'm not even thinking about what you propose, but I'm wondering if there's a way for both of them to agree on a GM that Bill actually respects. Like, not the 30-year-old nerd, but somebody out there. I don't know enough GMs, but is there somebody out there that Bill actually respects?
And like, and I don't mean this meanly, honestly. How many people are out there that Bill really respects and would cede power to? Right? And I'm sure there is somebody out there. But how many people does Bill look at and say, okay, he can do that better than me? It can't be many, right? Bill has seen more football than anybody. Bill Belichick has seen more football and has seen more players and has done more evaluations than anybody. So he certainly wouldn't be okay with a 30-year-old nerd. He certainly wouldn't be okay with a guy who's 45 and started in the mailroom. So the guy who he respects, Bill Parcells, he's not doing the job. Okay, maybe there's a guy like
cousin that we don't know about.
Maybe there's a guy like Howie Roseman in Philly, if he were to go to Philly in the future, where he could say, okay, I've seen that guy do it, and I've seen that guy win a Super Bowl. Maybe. But I don't know how many hireable guys are out there that Bill would look at it and say, okay, I'm okay ceding power to that guy. I'm okay thinking that guy can do a better job than me. There cannot be many of them. Text says, I say trade him, but I do think he'll stay. If he does, you have to make it crystal clear. He's the coach or the GM. He can't be both. that they would make that clear. They wouldn't want him to be the GM. They would only want him to be the coach. But I'm saying I don't think that situation would work. Texter says, this is a great point. Would Bill have to trade himself since he's the general manager? That's a good question. It's said kind of satirically, but Robert Kraft could make the trade framework wise. But Bill Belichick, being that he's under contract, would have to agree with it. Because why would it, if Bill's not going to agree to a trade, another team's not going to want to acquire him. Texter says, are you talking about the television show Friends? Yes, I am. I'm watching it the other day, and Ross cheats on Rachel, and Rachel says, okay, you can come back, but, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And then remember when Ross was with Emily, who was the one who he was dating in Britain, who after he said Rachel's name at the altar, she said, I got to be with you all the time, and you got to move here, or I'm going to move there, and I can't wait to see you, be with you all the time. Very, very restrictive. Yes, it was Friends coupled with something else that I don't remember. But yes, basically the forefront of my analogy was about Friends. The Panton Community Church says it was a terrible analogy. I'm sorry. I thought it was a brilliant analogy, frankly. I've had some clunkers in my career, I'm sure, analogy-wise. But that one I thought was pretty good, Danny. I need more texters on this, 802-585-3026. I feel like that was the best analogy I've ever given. And the fact, Danny, that you also said I kind of lost you disappoints me.
I'm sorry. We can put it to a vote, put it on the poll. We don't have a poll, but if we did.
We need to develop a poll because I thought it was brilliant, frankly. I thought that was as smart as I can sound. I thought that was as smart as I can sound for sure. So, all right, let's just kind of rip through what. Oh, you know what? Let me say this too, actually, Danny. I feel bad watching Belichick say this. And it's a fine line because part of me appreciates that Belichick is kind of willing to swallow his pride. Right. He's sitting here saying, yes, I am willing to do what it takes to make the football team better. And that is a pride swallowing effort that I didn't know Bill Belichick had in him. But on the other side of things, it's kind of sad for me to see Bill Belichick reduced to this. Like this feels like Bill Belichick begging for his job. This feels like Bill Belichick on his hands and knees saying, please take me back. I'll do anything. This feels like Bill Belichick groveling for his job. And it's sad for me to see Bill Belichick in that state. Again, it's a fine line. I appreciate that he wants to stay, apparently. I appreciate that he wants to be here. I appreciate he wants to make it right. I appreciate he's swallowing his pride. But the greatest coach of all time, essentially on hands and knees saying, I'll do whatever it takes. It just doesn't feel right to me. Pathetic was the first word that came to me, but that's too strong, right? It's not pathetic. It's just sad. Like I tend to think of people begging for something when they're desperate, when they have no other options. Bill Belichick is not desperate. Bill Belichick has other options, and he'll have plenty of other options. Right? There's 4 jobs that are open right now: Vegas, Carolina, Atlanta, and Washington. And I bet at least 3 of those teams would want to reach out to Bill Belichick. We already know Atlanta wants to reach out. I already assume Washington wants to reach out. And then one of Carolina or Vegas, I'm sure, would want to reach out. So that's 4 jobs that are open. Plus, you have to imagine there's going to be a job or 2 that opens up based on how the playoffs go, right? If Dallas loses early, Mike McCarthy very well might be gone. That job would be opened up. They'd probably want to talk to Belichick because they think they're a Super Bowl contender. If Philly continues to flop, there's all this talk about Sirianni maybe being out. Now, I wouldn't do it given what they did last year and given how good they were for most of this year. But they might react quickly, get rid of him, blow it up, and they might want Bill in. And Bill, as I said, might respect Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lourier and that group in Philly. So there are a lot of options out there for Bill Belichick. And frankly, there's some fairly good and some fairly appealing options. I have no idea what's going to happen with this whole Saints thing, but they might want Bill Belichick if they move on from Dennis Allen. So Bill Belichick to me is not desperate, but Bill Belichick to me is acting kind of desperate. And that is sad for me to see. It is sad for me to hear. Texter's given me some. Mark over in Montpelier says, he's given me a Seinfeld reference that no one else is going to get, but I get it perfectly, and it's brilliant. Well done there by Mark in Montpelier. Peter in Williston says, Brady, that was as philosophical as it gets. I shall call you the professor. He says, my take, Belichick and Kraft are making nice in the media, knowing an amicable break leads to better compensation in a trade. I do not think that Bill Belichick is going to get traded. I would have, but I don't think that, I would do it, but I don't think that Bill Belichick is going to allow it. Right? I think Bill Belichick wants full control over where he goes. I think at this point, he should want to wait until the playoffs are over to see what jobs open up, or at least see, if Dallas, would he want to take the Carolina job tomorrow in a trade when the Dallas job may open up in a week? I wouldn't. At that rate, I want to see what happens with Dallas. I want to see what happens with Philly. I don't think he's going to get traded. I don't think he's going to want to get traded. Tex says Belichick is daring Kraft to make the decision. Glenn in Brookfield says, best coach ever in football, and the Pats were nothing before him. I disagree with you. Who drafted Brady? He's older and wants to stay in New England around family. That's fair on a couple of points, but Glenn, let me combat this. Bill Belichick works with his family. Now, I don't know what his family situation is as far as with their kids and their significant others, et cetera. But Bill Belichick could absolutely take his family with him wherever he goes, right? Bill just got out of a long-term relationship, so he's not staying here to be around the missus. He's single as far as we know right now. Not that I care about Bill Belichick's dating life, but he doesn't have a wife or a girlfriend or partner to navigate this with at this moment. So he is untethered personally. So he can move. His kids are on his staff. He can absolutely take them with him if their partners and significant others will be okay with them going. So the family thing doesn't resonate with me as much. He is older. He very well may be comfortable, and that might be something that he's battling with, right? That might be a reason he wants to stay. I don't think the family thing is as big a deal. At least it wouldn't be for me if I had the dynamic that Bill has. I don't, but that's how I would see it. And as far as the thing about he's the best coach ever in football and the Pats were nothing before him, that's true. But this is not a lifetime achievement award. Right? This is not a lifetime contract for Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is under contract through 2024, not as long as Bill Belichick wants to be here. There was a point, and I don't know how I would feel now, but 4 years ago when I was younger in this business and a little more naive and a little more green, I said I would let Tom Brady play in New England as long as he wants to. And if Tom Brady wanted to play till he was 50 and he wanted to go 6-10 every year, then so be it. The Patriots owed him. That is how I felt about Tom Brady then. I don't know how I'd feel about it now, but now with Bill Belichick, I'm telling you, he doesn't get to just stay here forever. The team is bad. Over the last 4 years since Brady left, they've made the playoffs one time. They're under 500. And as Dan Orlovsky of ESPN pointed out, in the last 2 years, they're 12-22. And the only teams with a worse record than the Patriots in the last 2 years are the Bears, the Panthers, and the Cardinals. That's three of the worst run organizations in the NFL. The Giants have more wins than the Patriots. The Commanders have more wins than the Patriots. The Rams, who were supposed to be awful, have more wins than the Patriots. These teams that were supposed to be horrible, like the Texans and like the Colts, found a way to be playing for the division on the final week of the season. It's not a bubble test, a Scantron test of who's the best coach of all time. It's who's the best coach for the New England Patriots right now. And over the last 4 years, the Patriots haven't been very good. And here's the thing too, they're not getting better. They're getting worse. They're bad at the most critical position in the sport. And it appears to be getting worse, and they're pretty much set to start over again at the quarterback position. At least they should be. And if we're going to start over there, I'm ready to start over at the head coach. Again, easier said than done. I appreciate everything Bill Belichick's done. I will welcome him back and give him a red jacket, and I'll be there when he's in the Hall of Fame. I just wouldn't have him as the head coach of the New England Patriots moving forward. I would start over, and I would find somebody exciting. And I don't know who that is yet, but that's what I would do. 802-585-3026. On that note, I'll ask you the question. How confident are you in the New England Patriots moving forward with their future? How confident are you? We'll talk about it next on DEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Monica Ricks. We are following the latest on a possible gas explosion at a hotel in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. KTVT reporter Jason Allen is there. He talked to people that got trapped inside.
He said there was a smell of natural gas before the explosion. He remembered asking one of his teammates, do you smell natural gas? Yeah, it wasn't strong, though. They smelled it. And then, boom, they said it came from beneath them. The whole second floor filled with dust, smoke. They could see the red exit signs. So he headed for the red exit, found the stairwell, got to the stairwell, and most of it was missing.
They eventually got out, but at least 11 people were hurt there. One in critical condition, 2 others are in serious condition. Alaska Airlines scrapped another 140 flights today after grounding its fleet of Boeing MAX 9 planes following a mid-air blowout. CBS's Chris Van Cleve says some potentially dangerous warnings were seemingly ignored.
The day before, Alaska restricted that airplane's ability to fly a long distance, like to Hawaii and back, over water because of these pressurization warning lights that were coming on and off in the cockpit.
3 warnings had been reported at that point. United Airlines says it's since found loose bolts on door plugs on 5 planes. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin refuses to resign despite a delay in notifying the White House and the Pentagon about his hospitalization. Here's CBS's David Martin.
The White House has said that President Biden has talked to Austin and retains full confidence in him. We'll see.
Austin's still in the hospital, but has resumed his full duties. More than 300 pro-Palestinian protesters were arrested today in New York City for blocking bridges and tunnels during morning rush. They were demanding a ceasefire as the war between Israel and Hamas escalates in Gaza. Here's CBS's Robert Berger.
The Palestinian Islamic Jihad group released a video of an Israeli hostage pleading for his release. Israel called it psychological warfare, but it does put further pressure on the Israeli government to make a new hostage deal with Hamas. So far, negotiations are deadlocked.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel now to weigh in on those talks. And a dangerous storm is sweeping the nation with more blizzard conditions and rain. CBS News meteorologist David Parkinson's tracking it.
Lots of flooding. If you have any precautions you can take to save your basement, take them today, because tomorrow the rain is coming and the flooding likely is as well in much of the Northeast.
This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
Hello? Man, where are you? This wedding is lit. I thought you were coming.
Oh, I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? You didn't get a flu shot?
I wish I did. I can't believe I'm missing out on Greg's wedding.
Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf.
Grandma's about to what? What?
Man, I'll call you back.
Oh, man.
Sounds like another case of flu FOMO. Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. It keeps you protected and also protects your loved ones. Protecting our community can't wait. So why get stuck inside with the flu? Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Oftentimes, the wheelchairs our veterans and first responders receive from their healthcare providers are subpar at best. Some are falling apart, with a years-long waiting list for a new one. This lag causes a tremendous amount of stress for our heroes and creates a burden for their caregivers. Isolation leads to depression. We build what they need to get outdoors, hunting, fishing, or playing sports. Join the mission at wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. All right, a couple texts in here I want to catch up on here on the text line, 802-585-3026. Texter says, Brady, you are spot on about it not being a lifetime contract. Thank you. Our buddy Jack over at NBC5, who usually likes to give me grief, says, I think Kraft would move on if the right guy was available to take the job. I think Jim Harbaugh is out at Michigan, especially if they lose. He's a quarterback whisperer. He would be perfect for whatever quarterback the Patriots bring in from college or to grow the ones that they have. I am not a Jim Harbaugh fan. I can't look at him without bias, frankly. I do not like Jim Harbaugh. As a Seahawks fan, I cannot stand him from his time with the 49ers. All I can say is this. Jim Harbaugh is evidently a very good coach. Jim Harbaugh is a guy who wears people out, and he wears out his welcome. And that is why he doesn't stay anywhere for a very long time. Now, he may, being a Michigan guy, have a lifetime contract at Michigan, and he can only burn those guys out, right? They have 4 years, right? So in the NFL, where guys can have longer contracts and guys can be around longer, you can wear out your welcome. You can rub guys the wrong way. Guys won't want to play for you for a decade. So you're on, he's out quickly. College, it's a little easier because guys, the roster turns over so much quicker. Transfer portal, you're always coaching different players like that. NFL, I don't see him staying anywhere in the NFL for 10 years. So that's fine. The Patriots don't necessarily need a 10-year guy. I'm just not a fan of Jim Harbaugh in general. He is clearly a good coach. He won at San Diego State. He won at Stanford. He's won at Michigan. And he won with the 49ers. So he's clearly done a good job. And if the Patriots were to ever hire him, be it this offseason or 10 off seasons from now, I would have to soften my stance and really get to know the man himself rather than the guy that I think he is, which is a guy that I'm not a huge fan of. But I don't think Harbaugh's coming here, so I don't think it really matters. As for the right guy being here, well, they think they have that guy in Gerard Mayo. I don't know if they do, but they think they do. That's why you've heard so much about Gerard Mayo maybe being the next guy. They think that he is a head coach. And if he doesn't get the job here, he's certainly going to move on somewhere else himself, I'm sure. But they have been grooming Gerard Mayo. They evidently think that he could be the guy. Tex says, I don't think Kraft has the desire to continue. He needs to turn over the leadership. Well, the next leader is his son, so he's still going to be a part of the conversation no matter how involved you think he is. Roger says, quick PSA, Bill Parcells turned this franchise around. That's fair. The texter said that the Pats were nothing before Belichick, and I kind of said, yeah, you're right. Bill Parcells certainly gave credibility back to the franchise, right? Drew Bledsoe, huh? Yeah, the big tuna. Get to the Super Bowl 95 season, 96 year, I believe, against Green Bay. Went to the playoffs a couple of times. So Bill Parcells did restore credibility or give credibility to the franchise. That's fair. Now, again, the Pats were not great in the wake of Parcells leaving. The Pete Carroll era wasn't that great. Belichick's first year wasn't great. So, they did backslide, but Parcells did give the Patriots a period of sustained winning in the 90s for a couple of years. Tex says, the league is built on parity. Any team can get better with the right leadership. I completely agree with that. But right now, I don't think the Patriots have the right situation. I just think it has been too long. The message is starting to get lost. Again, Bill Belichick's not getting left behind. I just think it's time for a new voice. He's getting left behind in terms of roster building, not game day coaching. But I think it's time to move on. I ask you the question, 802-585-3026. How confident are we about the Patriots fixing this in the future? Right? To the texter's point, any team in the league can turn it around. We've seen the Texans go from the number 2 pick in the draft to a division champion. We saw the Jaguars go for the number 1 pick in the draft 2 years in a row to a division champion last year. The Colts pick number 4 in the draft, were playing for the division title in the final game of the season. There are plenty of teams every year that are bad that end up good. There's a lot of teams that are good that end up bad. How confident are you in the New England Patriots in being able to turn this around? And I will say this. I don't know. And I'm not trying to have a cop-out answer. I don't know how confident I am in the Patriots getting the next phase of their franchise right. But I'm telling you this. They just have to take the swing. It's completely, I would put it at 50-50. It's completely possible that they move on from Bill Belichick and go into a malaise for the next 6 years and are awful. That is absolutely an outcome that is there on the bingo card. But I'm telling you, you have to take the chance, right? It's scary to make a big change in your life. It's scary to make a big change in your career. It's scary to take a new job. It's scary to go back to school. It's scary to move on from a partner. It's scary to take the next step in your relationship. Anytime you change, it is scary. But it is time for change. The New England Patriots need to do something different. What do they say, Danny? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, in a post-Tom Brady world, the New England Patriots have done the same thing for 4 years, and they have had very similar results that end with them not in the playoffs 3 out of 4 years and blown off the field in Buffalo and embarrassed the one time they did get to the playoffs. The Pats were supposed to be on the upswing with their young quarterback. It hasn't happened. They whiffed on Mac, and they have ruined Mac as far as I'm concerned. He is not as bad as he was made out to be or made to look in 2023, but they have ruined him. Their offensive coaching philosophy has helped ruin Mac and the team, period. There's frustration in the locker room. There's turmoil on the coaching staff. It's just time. Will they get somebody better than Bill? I cannot promise you that. Will they come out better today than they were last week? I can't promise you that. But it is time to make the change. And some of you have gone through a big change in your life. You've gotten divorced. You've gotten married. You've had a kid. You've taken a new job. You've gone back to school. All of these things are life-altering changes. Sometimes certain things work. Sometimes certain things don't. But you've got to take the chance if you want to grow. And the New England Patriots right now have plateaued and are getting worse again. And I do not want the New England Patriots to become the Chicago Bears, a once proud organization that is relegated to a laughingstock. And that's where they're at right now. The Patriots are our laughingstock. It's time to make a change. Tex says, I'm not confident unless they clean house. I guess that's what I would say also. And I don't, clean house is a big term, right? There's 75 staffers on the Patriots staff. You're going to fire every one of them? No. There's got to be some people here that keep their jobs. But the guy at the top who's pulled all the strings, I think he's got to go. And I don't like saying that. I don't like calling for people's jobs. I don't know how many years I've done this business now. It'll be my 10-year anniversary of this job. Not at this place, but 10 years in radio coming up about a month from now. I don't know how many times I've ever called for somebody to be fired. These people have lives. These people have families. These people have kids. And so do their entire staffs. I don't like seeing people get hurt. And firing people causes hurt. But for the betterment of the New England Patriots, they need a new voice. They need a new leader. And it's tough, but it's reality. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Tex says this has to be carefully planned. Maybe Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, could be a good fit for the Patriots. Well, we'll see what happens as we go. But, Danny, let's play a little bit of the audio from kind of around the league. Here's Adam Schefter earlier today of ESPN, what he knows about Belichick.
There's a widespread feeling across the league that the time has come to make a change in New England, that both sides will be going their own ways. And it's just a question exactly of how it plays out and when it plays out. And that's what we wait to see. Now, today, Bill Belichick said he'd be willing to talk about surrendering some general manager responsibilities, some personnel responsibilities. But the fact of the matter is, I think most people believe that these two sides are going to wind up divorcing.
So most people believe these two sides are going to wind up divorcing. Albert Breer of the Monday Morning Quarterback talking about kind of what's at stake here, what's at play also.
It certainly sounds like this is it. And I think really what we're talking about now is how this is going to be dressed up and whether Kraft and Belichick want to play ball with each other. Does Kraft insist on compensation? Does Bill want to go along with this being a mutual parting of ways and not a firing? How does money come into all of this? All of those are factors that they'll have to work through. And, certainly it's something that other teams are keeping an eye on, teams that'll be looking for head coaches.
So teams are definitely circling the Patriots here, kind of seeing where we're at right now. I did hear a report earlier that the Falcons have already fired Arthur Smith. They are interested in Belichick, per Diana Rossini of The Athletic. We're only on for another 15 minutes or so. College football national championship game is coming up at the bottom of the hour. That's Michigan and Washington. Jim Harbaugh against Kalen DeBoer. Michael Penix against J.J. McCarthy. Looking forward to what should be a really good game in this final iteration of this version of the college football playoff. Danny, let's take a very quick break. We didn't take a break in the 5 o'clock hour, so we got to get a quick break in. We'll come back. We'll unpack the Patriots from yesterday, and I got to tell you, the final game of the Pats season, I did something I haven't done all year yesterday. We'll talk about that game, a 17-3 loss against the Jets, in which the Pats finished 4-13. We'll unpack the Pats next on BEV.
Hi, this is Sarah Larson at Otter Creek Awnings, Vermont's #1 awning company. We're locally owned and operated, and that means our design team is right here to work with you. Our free on-site estimates will help you design the perfect solution for your outdoor space. Custom deck canopies, patio awnings, window awnings, and solar shade screens. You'll love where you live under an awning from Otter Creek. Stop by New England's largest awning showroom in Williston or look online at ottercreekawnings.com.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swat and Lumber, Vermont and upstate New York's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
For many, Vermont offers the quintessential winter experience. But for some of our neighbors, it's a difficult time making ends meet. The Radio Vermont Group is pleased to once again partner with Capstone Community Action to help our neighbors in need have fuel and food this winter. And we're once again asking for your generosity. Media coverage is underwritten in part by
Plainfield Hardware. Visit Plainfield Hardware General Store and Deli on Route 2, midway between East Montpelier and Plainfield. Stowe Street Emporium Gifts and Boutique, with a unique and eclectic variety of gifts. 23 Stowe Street, Waterbury. StoweStreetEmporium.com. Morse Farm Maple Sugar Works. Amazing gift baskets shipped anywhere. Open daily from 10 to 5 on 1168 County Road, Montpelier. MorseFarm.com. Inklings Children's Books. 106 Mad River Green, Waitsfield.
The Radio Vermont Group urges you to help fuel your neighbors this winter. Go to WDEVradio.com to learn more. And go to fuelyourneighbors.org to donate today.
The world is a constantly changing place, and being informed has never been more important. This is Steve Kathan. WDEV, Vermont's news station, and CBS provide you with up-to-the-minute news and information. Whether it's top and bottom of the hour news, breaking news, or special events, if Vermonters need to know, you can trust that WDEV and CBS will inform you. WDEV, keeping an eye on Vermont, while CBS keeps an eye on the world.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. College football national championship game coming up in about 12 minutes or so, Michigan and Washington. And this is where we're at right now as Patriots fans. You got to watch this game because there is a chance that you're going to see guys in this game that could end up playing for the Patriots, right? We look at the Patriots and say, okay, they have the number 3 pick in the draft. That's where they finish. They very well might take Michael Penix Jr. as their quarterback of the future. You need to be watching him now. Like, I have always enjoyed high-level college football just because I like football, right? But I've never been invested in college football. I don't have a team. I don't I didn't grow up in a college football hotbed. I don't have a great environment. I didn't go to any of these places. So like, I'll watch good college football games because they're on. I've never been invested, and the Patriots are always picking so low in the draft that it didn't really matter to me whether they, pick some tackle from Alabama or some wide out from Oklahoma or whatever, because I'm like, well, look, they got Brady. They're going to be good no matter who they get. Now it's like, okay, the draft now means everything. So they got number 3, and then they're going to have a second-round pick that's very, very high. They very well might get Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback at Washington. They very well might get the wide receiver at Washington, Rome Awuzie, maybe. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but like Washington's got 2 stud receivers that could end up being available as well. Nevertheless, who Michigan's got, also not McCarthy. He'll be back at Michigan, I believe. But like, there's guys in this game that you need to be watching and paying attention to. And I can't believe like we're going to become partly a draft show moving forward. I've never cared about the draft. I always like watching the draft. I hate the lead up to the draft. We're going to have to get sucked into every rumor moving forward, Danny. This is what Danny, here's your job for the next 3 months. You're going to every day, you're going to have to scour ESPN, The Athletic, CBS, and Twitter. And you're going to have to be reporting to me all the new Patriots draft rumors out here, because this is where we're at.
So just follow Mel Kiper.
I've always been like, okay, I don't care about the player. They just need a position, right? Okay, hey, they're picking 30th. They need a tackle. Okay, great. I'll just tell you they need a tackle. Now we're going to have to go through all the names. We're going to have to know who these people are. So when you see some schmuck on social media say, hey, I'm hearing the Patriots might take Penix, or hey, don't worry, Penix's hands are a little too small at the combine, we're going to have to be in on that garbage now. That's what the Patriots have done to us. They've made us have to care about this little draft minutia. I used to love when the Patriots would win Super Bowls, pick 32nd, and I could just post up on, April 30th, watch for 3 days, and come back on Monday and tell you, okay, they took a couple of linemen, they took a flyer on a DB, they grabbed the wide out in the 7th, and they took their 94th backup quarterback that's never going to play behind Brady. And here we are. Let's go on to Red Sox season. We're going to have to be leading up to all this garbage now. That's how bad the Patriots were this year, that we have to care about the draft. 802-585-3026. Danny, I want to later this week, maybe tomorrow, I want to unpack the Patriots season. I want to put a bow on the season. I think we will do that tomorrow, but we've got our last Patriots Monday today. Patriots lose to the New York Jets yesterday, 17-3, finished 4-13. Danny, for the final time, our Unpack the Patriots music, please.
Which Patriots popped?
To the 30, to the 20. He is end zone bound. Pick 6. Touchdown, Patriots.
And which ones flopped?
Jones steps up in the pocket, unloads a deep ball, and it's intercepted. That'll put the cherry on top.
We unpack the Patriots now on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
I got to tell you, there's not much to unpack, right? I always try to go through and pick out the good and the bad and give you 4 or 5 of each. There's almost nothing to talk about in this game. Frankly, that game was the perfect way to end this Patriots season. Like, that was the Patriots season in a nutshell. They played good defense, they played hard, and the offense could not do anything. Like, that's the story of the Patriots season. They played hard, they wanted to win, they tried, they brought it until the end. The defense was great, and the offense couldn't do anything. I mean, you look across the board yesterday offensively, nothing went well. Once again, they couldn't rush the ball. 21 rushes, 88 yards, 4 yards a carry is not bad, but they couldn't run it enough to impose their will. You look at the Jets, who ran it for 185 yards, right? When you're playing in that sloppy of weather, you would think that the thought process is we're going to pound you and wear you down. The Jets were able to do it. The Patriots weren't able to do it. Well, if the Jets are going to play to stop the run, you'd like to think the Pats could exploit something in the passing game. They could. Zappy goes 12 of 30 for 88 yards. Gets sacked 7 times. Now, it was awful weather. Danny, the game you went to with the driving rainstorm, that game with the snow, the Patriots played in a couple of bad weather games this year, which certainly impacted things. But they couldn't do anything offensively, and it was a huge problem. It was a problem that crippled them all year long, right? They just couldn't get anything going. As for what I liked, as I said last week, same thing. I liked that Jalen Reagor made an impact in this game. I don't think Jalen Reagor is going to be on the Patriots next year, But Jalen Reagor might have saved himself an NFL roster spot with a couple of things he did in the last few weeks of the season. Right? This is a guy who was a high draft pick and flamed out in Philly first, I believe, and then went to Minnesota and has never really been able to stick. That's why he's been on 3 teams in like 5 years. Well, he returns a kickoff for a touchdown last week against Buffalo. He runs the reverse this week, shows a little bit of the ability to be a playmaker, in the run game, and has the one big catch down the sideline for 33 yards. Like, that's the extent of what went well for the Pats beyond the defense. I'm happy that Ryland finally made a field goal, right? He ends the year as a massive disappointment considering where the Patriots drafted him. You drafted a kicker in the 4th round. And Chad Ryland really, really struggled this year. 64% on field goals. I think he was like 16 of 25. He was 72nd in the NFL in points. I mean, he's 30th in the league among points, so he only had 2 more points than any other kicker in the league. Just not a good year, especially for a 4th-round pick. If you're going to spend a 4th-round pick on a kicker, the guy better be Justin Tucker reincarnated, and Chad Ryland wasn't. I'm happy for him. He ended his season on a 30-yard make with a little bit of confidence. Like, again, all it is 30 yards, but a little bit of confidence into the offseason did make me feel good. Danny, the sequence with about 2.5 minutes left in the 4th quarter, that summed up the Patriots season, right?
Insane.
Pats throw the ball, gets picked. Then the Jets guy fumbles it. Verdarian Lowe jumps on it. Pats get a second chance and immediately throw another pick, which basically, for all intents and purposes, ends the game. That's like, you beat yourself, you get a little bit of a break, and then you beat yourself again. Like, that was the perfect encapsulation of the New England Patriots season. It was an ugly year. It was a year we want to forget. There were good things that happened in it for individuals and for the defense, by and large, which I will give them their flowers when we talk about this tomorrow. But by and large, a regrettable season comes to an end, and now it's on to the biggest offseason probably in Patriots history. Letting Tom Brady go or not go was a huge decision. Letting Bill Belichick go or not go is a huge decision. And you have the number 3 pick in the draft. And you have a chance to go and get the franchise-changing quarterback. Will you make the pick? Will you get it right? Will it bomb for you? Whatever. This is a franchise-defining offseason. This is probably the last big offseason of Robert Kraft's ownership, right? Robert Kraft is pushing 85. While he will still be alive, I presume, in a number of years, he's not going to have the level of control over this team that he has right now. This is the last big move for Robert Kraft probably in his career. And we'll see what happens over the offseason. I love the Matthew Slater stuff yesterday. The sweatshirts before the game, Slater after the game, his teammates about him, Belichick on him. We'll play some of that as well tomorrow. We'll unpack the season for the Pats and get to the Slater stuff. All right. Go download the podcast, everybody. Apple Podcast, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Tomorrow, we'll have Aaron Deloney on the show from the UVM men's hoops team. His team beat Maine at a good, hard-fought conference win to open up the AE season on Saturday. Won that game by 65-58. We'll talk to AD tomorrow at 6:30. We'll unpack the Patriots. A lot of stuff on the Red Sox as well. College football playoff game is next. Get home safe, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. And go Washington here on DEV.
We are Vermont State University, moving forward to meet Vermont's career and workforce needs, focusing on one student at a time to solve Vermont's challenges. Vermont State is